All right, today we are peeling back the mask on the ninja. But we're not talking about the stuff you see in movies. We're going straight to the source to uncover the hidden philosophy and the incredible code of discipline that defined the real historical shinobi. So let me just ask you, what do you think is a ninja's most dangerous weapon? You're probably picturing a perfectly sharp katana, right? Or maybe one of those deadly throwing stars. Well, the real answer, from the ninja's own history books, is probably gonna surprise you. Yeah, it's not a sword or a star. According to the most authentic ninja texts we have, the greatest weapon in their entire arsenal wasn't something they held in their hand. It was something they built, that they cultivated, right inside their own head. It was their mind. And lucky for us, we have a legendary document to guide us through it. That guide is the Bansenshukai. You can basically think of it as the Bible of ninja skills. It was written way back in 1676 to make sure their art wouldn't be lost to time. And for this, we're zeroing in on volumes 2 and 3, which are all about something called sesshin, or the correct mind. And get this, the manual itself says this is the single most important part of being a ninja. So you'd think a ninja handbook would jump right into stealth and combat, right? Nope, it starts with ethics. Before a ninja could even think about mastering the shadows, they first had to master their own moral compass. This was called the path of righteousness, and it was literally the foundation for everything else they did. At the heart of this whole thing is a concept called ji, or righteousness. Now, the Bansenshukai is super clear about this. This isn't some rigid list of rules. It's more of a flexible guiding principle. But, and this is the crucial part, every single choice had to be rooted in a just cause. Acting for selfish reasons, for personal gain, or for some unprincipled leader, that wasn't just a mistake. It was seen as a corruption of the entire ninja path. And you can imagine, to walk a path like that, it required immense patience. The manual actually quotes Confucius to really drive this point home. A true shinobi just couldn't be a hothead. No way. They had to be willing to endure the small stuff, even public shame, if it meant achieving a much bigger, more important goal down the line. To really paint a picture of this, the manual tells the story of a man named Han Shen. As a young man, a local bully dared him, either fight me to the death or crawl between my legs in utter humiliation. Han Shen, believing his life was meant for something greater, chose to crawl. He refused to die over a pointless insult. That very same man went on to become one of China's greatest generals, who was never, ever defeated in battle. And that story shows you that not all sacrifice is created equal. The Bansenshukai draws a very hard line here. Dying for a good lord when his cause is in danger, that's true righteousness. But throwing your life away for a cruel or foolish master, the manual calls that false righteousness, a complete betrayal of the shinobi code. So just how far did this loyalty go? The manual gives this absolutely incredible example. Two retainers, Cheng Ying and Chu Ju, have to protect their lord's infant son. To save the heir from assassins, Chu Ju sacrifices his own son as a decoy. At the same time, Cheng Ying pretends to surrender to the enemy, also he could secretly raise the true heir. Years later, he builds an army and restores that heir to power, finishing a mission that took decades of deception and just unthinkable sacrifice. But to keep up such a demanding code, a ninja first had to completely master their own mind. This is where the manual turns inward. It explains that before you can serve any righteous cause, you first have to win the battle inside your own head. You have to conquer your ego, your fears, and your desires. The manual uses this ancient saying, "Water makes sound when it is shallow, while deep water makes no sound." And this became the ideal for the master ninja. You know, a shallow little brook babbles, it makes a lot of noise, it's obvious. But a deep river, it moves with silent, unstoppable power. A ninja's true ability was meant to be just like that, hidden, quiet, and profound. The book calls these masters the Jo no Shinobi, or the high-level ninja. And here's the paradox. The very best ninja were the ones nobody knew were ninja at all. They had these brilliant, deep strategies, but on the outside, they just looked like an ordinary person, a humble samurai, a quiet hermit. Their greatest skill was being completely and utterly unknown. So how could someone possibly achieve that level of detachment? They did it by seeing the world through the lens of the 5 elements. The manual teaches that your body isn't really you. It's just a temporary vessel. Your flesh is earth. The fluids in your body are water. Your body heat is fire. Life is just these elements coming together for a bit, and death is just them returning to the universe. And this wasn't just some abstract philosophy. It had a very practical purpose. By seeing life and death as just temporary states, the ninja could overcome the ultimate fear. The manual warns that people who cling to life too tightly become cowards in a crisis. Their fear makes them forget their duty, abandon their cause, and bring permanent disgrace upon their name and their family. Conquering the fear of death gave the shinobi a profound sense of freedom. With no fear, there's no hesitation. The mind becomes crystal clear, like a mirror, able to react perfectly to any situation without doubt. As the manual puts it, if you have a sword in your spirit to cut off your doubt, any dream may be realized. So we have righteousness and self-conquest. But how does this all hold up in the real world? Well, the Bansenshukai is way ahead of us on that. It actually presents a series of ethical tests, challenging you, the reader, to apply these principles. Okay, here's the first test. Imagine a lord says to you, "My castle is on lockdown. Break in to prove how good you are, and I'll reward you." What's the correct response for a true shinobi? Should you show off your skills? The manual's answer is a hard no. Absolutely not. Ninjutsu is rooted in loyalty, not in doing pointless tricks for fame or money. Why would you deceive your own side? A lord who asks for such a foolish test isn't worth serving in the first place because he clearly doesn't understand the true purpose of the art. Now for an even tougher one. What if you're already serving a lord and you come to realize he's a tyrant? He's cruel, immoral, and totally unjust. Do you stick with him out of some kind of misguided sense of duty? The Bansenshukai is totally uncompromising here. A shinobi's ultimate loyalty is not to a person. It's to righteousness. The text says, you shouldn't have served a lord like that to begin with. But if you made a mistake, the moment you discover his true nature, your duty is to quit, immediately. There is no honor in serving a wicked cause. So what's the reality behind the myth? When you put all of these pieces together, what does the mind of a master shinobi actually look like? The true shinobi of the Bansenshukai wasn't some assassin in black pajamas for hire. They were philosopher warriors. Their actions weren't dictated by money or fame, but by a strict ethical code, one grounded in justice, loyalty to that justice, and an almost superhuman level of self-control. And when you strip everything else away, the weapons, the stealth, the myths, it all comes down to one thing. A single priority that governed every decision they made: serving a righteous cause. For the true shinobi, nothing else mattered. So, the historical shinobi was a master of internal discipline first and a master of espionage second. Their power came from a deep ethical framework that valued wisdom over recklessness. Knowing this, does it change how you see the ninja? Thanks for joining this explainer.